The United States and China are two of the most important countries in the world. They are also two of the most different. In this video, we will compare the two countries in a variety of fields, including economy, military, global influence, culture, education, infrastructure, cost of living, and global image. Now we discuss one by one. Economy. In 1980, the United States had the largest economy in the world, with a GDP of $2.7 trillion. China's economy was much smaller, with a GDP of $299 billion. By 2022, China's economy had grown to $17.7 trillion, making it the second largest economy in the world. The United States economy had also grown, but at a slower pace, to $25.3 trillion. The United States is a mixed economy, with a large private sector and a smaller public sector. China is a socialist economy, with a strong role for the government in the economy. The United States has a more diversified economy than China. China's economy is more reliant on manufacturing and exports. China's economy has grown much faster than the United States economy in recent decades. From 1980 to 2022, China's GDP grew at an average annual rate of 9.3%, while the United States GDP grew at an average annual rate of 2.9%. However, the United States GDP per capita is still much higher than China's GDP per capita. In 2022, the United States GDP per capita was $69,288, while China's GDP per capita was $12,551. The United States and China are two of the largest trading partners in the world. In 2022, the United States exported $158.8 billion worth of goods and services to China, and imported $506.3 billion worth of goods and services from China. So it can be said that Chinese economy has grown rapidly in recent decades, but the United States economy is still larger and more diversified. The United States GDP per capita is also much higher than China's GDP per capita. The United States and China are two of the largest trading partners in the world. Military. The United States and China have the two most powerful militaries in the world. The United States military has a significant advantage in terms of technology and global reach, but the Chinese military is growing rapidly and is becoming increasingly sophisticated. Here is a comparison of the US and Chinese militaries in key areas. Budget. The United States military budget is much larger than the Chinese military budget. In 2022, the United States military budget was $768.2 billion, while the Chinese military budget was $293 billion. However, the Chinese military budget is growing rapidly. Personnel. The United States military has a smaller active force than the Chinese military, but it has a larger reserve force. In 2022, the United States active force had 1.3 million personnel, while the Chinese active force had 2.0 million personnel. The United States Reserve Force had 1 million personnel, while the Chinese Reserve Force had 0.5 million personnel. Equipment. The United States military has a significant advantage in terms of military equipment. The United States has more advanced aircraft, ships, and tanks than China. However, China is rapidly developing new military equipment, including stealth aircraft and hypersonic missiles. Nuclear weapons. The United States has a larger nuclear arsenal than China. In 2022, the United States had 5,550 nuclear warheads, while China had 350 nuclear warheads. However, China is expanding its nuclear arsenal. Global reach. The United States military has a global reach, with bases all over the world. The Chinese military is more focused on defending its own territory and its interests in the Asia-Pacific region. It is important to note that the military balance between the United States and China is complex and dynamic. Both countries are investing heavily in new military technologies, and it is difficult to predict how the balance will shift in the future. Global influence. The global influence of the United States and China has changed significantly over the past 4 decades. In 1980, the United States was the dominant global power, both economically and militarily. China's global influence was much smaller. By 2022, China's global influence had grown significantly. China is now the second largest economy in the world, and it has the second most powerful military in the world. China is also a major cultural exporter, and its influence is growing in developing countries. The United States still has a significant global influence, but its influence is waning. The United States is facing a number of challenges, including economic inequality, political polarization, and a decline in trust in its institutions. Here are some specific examples of how the global influence of the United States and China has changed. Economics. In 1980, the United States accounted for 25% of global GDP. By 2022, the United States accounted for 15% of global GDP. China's share of global GDP has increased from 2% in 1980 to 18% in 2022. Military. In 1980, the United States had the most powerful military in the world. China's military was much weaker. By 2022, China's military had grown significantly and was now the second most powerful military in the world. Culture. The United States has a global cultural influence. Hollywood movies, American music, and American television are popular all over the world. China is also becoming a major cultural exporter. Chinese movies and television shows are becoming increasingly popular around the world. Soft power. The United States has a significant amount of soft power, which is the ability to influence other countries through persuasion and attraction. China is also developing its soft power. China is investing in foreign aid and cultural diplomacy. The growing global influence of China is a major challenge for the United States. The United States is no longer the sole global superpower. It must now compete with China for influence and resources. The growing global influence of China is a major development in the 21st century. It is important to understand the changes that are taking place and the implications for the United States and the world. Culture. There are vast cultural differences between the United States and China. Values. Americans value individual liberty, self-expression, and equality, while Chinese people value social harmony, respect for authority, and family. Religion. The United States is a religious pluralistic society, while China is a largely secular society. Language. The official language of the United States is English, while the official language of China is Mandarin Chinese. Food. The United States has a diverse cuisine, while Chinese cuisine is more unified. Art and music. American art and music are influenced by many different cultures, while Chinese art and music are influenced by Chinese culture and tradition. Social norms. Americans are generally more informal and direct, while Chinese people are generally more formal and indirect. Education. The United States education system is decentralized, with a diverse curriculum and an emphasis on critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The Chinese education system is centralized, with a more focused curriculum and an emphasis on rote memorization and test-taking skills. The United States curriculum is more diverse, Chinese curriculum is more focused on math, science, and Chinese language. In United States teaching methods emphasizes critical thinking whereas Chinese emphasizes rote memorization. The United States uses a variety of methods of student assessment, on the other hand China relies on standardized tests. The differences between the two systems have a significant impact on the way students are educated and the skills they develop. Infrastructure. The United States has a well-developed infrastructure system, with a good network of roads, bridges, airports, and public transportation. China's infrastructure system is also well-developed, but it is still lagging behind the United States. The United States is investing heavily in its infrastructure, with a focus on improving roads, bridges, and airports. China is also investing heavily in its infrastructure, with a focus on expanding its high-speed rail network and building new airports. Cost of living. The cost of living in the United States is higher than the cost of living in China. This is especially true in major cities such as New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. The cost of living in China has been rising in recent years, but it is still lower than the cost of living in the United States. Global image. The United States and China have very different global images. The United States is generally seen as a symbol of democracy, freedom, and opportunity. China is generally seen as a symbol of economic growth and authoritarianism. The global image of the United States has been declining in recent years, due to factors such as the Iraq War, the financial crisis, and the rise of political polarization. The global image of China has been improving in recent years, due to factors such as its economic growth and its growing influence in the world. The United States and China are two very different countries. They have different political systems, different economic systems, and different cultures. The United States has a number of advantages over China, such as a more developed democracy, a more diversified economy, and a better global image. However, China is growing rapidly and is becoming a major competitor to the United States.